ladies and gentlemen. Imagine being a woman who knows her worth, an individual who carries a certain level of grace and strength, a woman whose actions speak louder than words. She is aware of the power of her silence and the strategy behind her reserve. There are three critical things she keeps private at all costs. It's not about secrecy, but about wisdom, dignity, and self-preservation. In a world that constantly demands more of us, this intelligent woman knows the value of personal boundaries. She doesn't need to broadcast everything about her life because her confidence doesn't come from validation. It comes from the internal assurance that she is in control. And let me tell you, this is how power is quietly wielded. Privacy is power. It is a concept that has been lost in the noise of modern life, where everything is laid bare on social media, every emotion shared, every thought broadcasted. Yet, true power lies in the ability to control what is seen and what is hidden. When a woman chooses to keep certain aspects of her life private, she doesn't just protect herself, she asserts dominion over her existence in a way that is not often understood in a world that demands constant validation. It's about being selective with your energy, being discerning about who and what gets access to your inner world. There's an art to this, a wisdom that comes from experience and an understanding of one's self-worth. This is not about secrecy in a deceitful sense. Secrecy can often be associated with deception, but privacy is something entirely different. Privacy is an act of self-preservation. It's an acknowledgement that some parts of your life are far too valuable, too sacred to share with the world. It's not about hiding your truth, it's about knowing when and how to protect it, recognizing that there are aspects of your soul that deserve protection from external influence. A woman who can do this well is in control of her life in ways that many people fail to realize. She doesn't allow the opinions of others to dictate her sense of self. Instead, she chooses the narrative that is true to her, and she does so with conviction. In the age of oversharing, it can be difficult to resist the urge to tell the world everything. There is a pressure to be seen, to be known, to be acknowledged. Social media amplifies this pressure, creating an illusion that we must be constantly visible to be validated. But this is a trap. The more you reveal, the less control you have over your own life. The more you give of yourself, the less you own. The intelligent woman understands this. She knows that there are sacred parts of her existence that, if exposed to the wrong people or situations, will diminish her power. She chooses privacy as an act of self-respect, an act of wisdom, and ultimately an act of strength. This isn't about being closed off or distant. It's not about shutting people out for the sake of it. It's about being intentional with what you share and with whom. It's about recognizing the value of your time, your energy, your thoughts. You give it to those who truly deserve it, those who have proven their worth through their actions, not their words. And even then, there are limits to how much you reveal. Not everything is meant to be shared. Not everything should be made public. Some things are too personal, too vulnerable to be exposed to the world. The woman who masters this principle understands that vulnerability is not something to be flaunted, but something to be safeguarded. It is the strength in knowing when to share and when to withhold. It is the knowledge that your personal life does not need to be on display to prove your value. In fact, it is precisely the opposite. The more you keep to yourself, the more enigmatic and malleable you become. People are drawn to what they cannot have, to what remains hidden. The more you reveal, the less intrigue you create. The more you hold back, the more others will seek to understand what lies beneath the surface. But privacy is not just about withholding information. It is also about the ability to choose your own battles, to dictate the terms of your life. It's about the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your worth and not needing external validation. This is a woman who does not need to explain herself, who does not need to justify her choices. She lives her life on her own terms and understands that not everyone is entitled to an explanation. This is where true power lies, when you are no longer swayed by the opinions of others, when you have mastered the art of living privately and preserving your inner sanctum. A woman who values her privacy is a woman who understands her own value. She knows that her time, her energy, and her emotions are precious commodities. She knows that she cannot afford to give them away to just anyone. She chooses carefully who enters her space, who gains access to her thoughts, her feelings, her dreams. She does not allow anyone to drain her energy, to take from her what they do not deserve. She is protective of herself, and in doing so, she maintains her strength. She refuses to be diminished by the external world. Instead, she stands firm in her beliefs and maintains control over the narrative of her life. The importance of privacy also lies in its ability to foster deep self-reflection. When you withhold certain things from others, you give yourself the space to explore your own thoughts and feelings without the influence of external pressures. You allow yourself the room to grow and evolve, free from the constraints of judgment and expectation. In this space, you find clarity, and from that clarity, you find direction. The more you are able to protect your internal world, the stronger your sense of self becomes. You become less susceptible to the chaos around you, less influenced by the distractions that seek to pull you off course. Privacy is not just about protecting yourself from others, it is about protecting yourself from yourself. It is about guarding the parts of you that are sacred, the parts that hold your essence, your truth. It is about refusing to let the noise of the world drown out your inner voice. And when you do this, when you master the art of privacy, you become a woman of substance, a woman whose strength is not measured by what she reveals, but by what she chooses to keep sacred. You become an enigma, an individual who commands respect, not through force, but through the quiet power of self-possession. And that, my friends, is the true essence of strength. In a world that continuously urges us to share, to be transparent, and to open up about our lives, it takes a certain level of strength to recognize that not everything needs to be exposed. There is an inherent wisdom in choosing what you reveal to the world, what you allow others to see, and perhaps more importantly, what you choose to keep to yourself. This is a key component of emotional maturity and personal sovereignty. It's about understanding that there are things, emotions, and experiences that are too valuable to be shared lightly, that some things are simply too sacred to be exposed to the judgment or opinions of others. In this regard, privacy becomes a powerful tool not for hiding or deceiving, but for creating and maintaining a sense of integrity. When you keep certain parts of your life private, you establish boundaries that protect your emotional, psychological space. Boundaries, despite being a buzzword, are essential for preserving one's mental health, especially in relationships. Too often we blur the lines between ourselves and others, thinking that true intimacy is synonymous with sharing everything. But the truth is, true intimacy doesn't require total exposure. It requires trust, understanding, and respect. When you maintain certain boundaries, when you choose not to share everything about yourself with just anyone, you are making a conscious decision to safeguard your energy. You're saying that not everyone gets access to the most intimate aspects of your life, and that's a powerful stance to take. People will respect you more when they recognize that you are not easily penetrable, not because you are distant or cold, but because you are discerning and wise. Privacy gives you the ability to preserve your individuality, to be a distinct and whole person, not a reflection of someone else's expectations or perceptions. In relationships, this is particularly important. You don't need to constantly justify your actions, explain yourself, or reveal your innermost thoughts to prove your worth to anyone. There is a quiet dignity in maintaining your privacy, knowing that you are enough just as you are without needing to explain every detail of your existence. This is where real confidence stems from. Confidence doesn't come from being loud and outwardly transparent. It comes from being comfortable in your own skin, with all its complexity, mystery, and depth. The more you are willing to protect the deeper parts of yourself, the more you claim your own authority, and the more others will respect and value you for the person you are, not just for what you let them see. One of the most significant aspects of privacy is that it allows for deep, uninterrupted self-reflection. When you don't feel the need to constantly share your thoughts and experiences with others, you create space for introspection and growth. This space allows you to better understand your motivations, desires, fears, and dreams without the noise of external influences clouding your judgment. You can reflect on your life, your choices, and your future with clarity, which in turn allows you to make decisions that are true to your own values and aspirations, rather than those imposed on you by others. This level of introspection cultivates emotional intelligence and wisdom, qualities that cannot be nurtured when you are constantly seeking approval or validation from others. It's in the quiet moments of privacy that you begin to know who you truly are. By keeping certain aspects of your life private, you also ensure that you don't become too attached to other people's opinions or judgments. In a world where social media constantly bombards us with comparisons and the pursuit of validation, privacy acts as a safeguard against the noise of the external world. The moment you expose yourself too much, you invite criticism, unwanted advice, and the risk of losing sight of your true self. You begin to rely on others to define who you are, instead of relying on your own internal compass. But when you learn the value of privacy, you no longer need the approval of others to feel good about yourself. You learn to trust yourself in your judgment, and you come to understand that your worth does not depend on what others think of you. When you keep certain things private, you also protect your emotional energy. People can be draining in relationships, while essential can often become sources of stress and negativity. By being selective about what you share and with whom, you reduce the risk of being emotionally overwhelmed by the demands or expectations of others. You maintain your emotional equilibrium by choosing not to engage in every conversation or every situation that seeks to drain you. You decide what deserves your energy and what doesn't. This kind of emotional control is a mark of strength and resilience. It reflects a person who has learned how to navigate the world without being tossed around by every emotion, every crisis, or every person who comes their way. Privacy allows you to establish and maintain a sense of personal freedom. In relationships, whether with friends, family, or romantic partners, there is often an expectation to be completely open and transparent. But when you give everything, you risk losing a sense of autonomy. You risk losing the freedom to choose who gets to know what and when. When you practice privacy, you retain the power to control the flow of information. You can choose to share when it is right for you, not because someone expects it or demands it. This personal freedom allows you to live your life on your own terms, to make decisions without the pressure of revealing every detail to the world. It creates a space where you can live authentically and independently without being controlled by the desires or expectations of others. The decision to keep certain things private isn't about building walls or shutting people out. It's about creating healthy boundaries that protect your inner world. It's about knowing that you are not obligated to share every detail of your life, especially with people who haven't earned the right to know it. It's about respecting yourself enough to maintain your own emotional and mental well-being. And when you do this, when you master the art of privacy, you open up space for deep personal growth, better relationships, and a more meaningful existence. Privacy, after all, is not about isolation. It is about preservation, preserving the most important parts of yourself for your own benefit and for the benefit of those who truly deserve to know you. And when you do so, you set the foundation for a life that is not only authentic, but also protected from the chaos that surrounds us. We live in a world where the pressure to conform is relentless, and the temptation to reveal every aspect of our lives is ever present. Social media, with its constant push for transparency, has made it almost seem as though vulnerability is a requirement for authenticity. Yet, what we often overlook is the profound strength that comes from choosing to keep certain parts of ourselves private. To withhold aspects of your life is not a sign of weakness, but rather an expression of wisdom and self-respect. It is a reflection of your ability to discern what is worthy of exposure and what is too precious to be shared with just anyone. True strength, in many ways, lies not in what we are willing to show the world, but in what we choose to withhold. When you decide to keep certain things private, you are not isolating yourself from others, you are protecting your inner sanctum. It is not about being closed off or detached, rather it is a deliberate act of self-preservation. It takes a remarkable degree of self-awareness to recognize that not every thought, feeling, or experience needs to be aired for others to see. By maintaining this level of discretion, you are preserving the depth and richness of your own character. There is a quiet dignity in allowing yourself to be more than just the sum of your visible actions or your social media posts. You are more than what others can see, and by keeping certain aspects of your life private, you honor that truth. You allow your character to be defined by your actions and choices, not by the fleeting opinions of others. We must recognize the value of privacy in an era where everything is exposed, everything is dissected, and everyone seems to have an opinion. The more you share with the world, the more you invite the potential for judgment. People may look at your life and think they understand it, but the truth is they can only ever understand a fraction of it. The world can never know the intricacies of your thoughts, the private battles you fight, or the small, quiet victories you achieve on a daily basis. These things belong to you and only you. To expose them to others, to allow them to shape your self-perception, is to give away your power. By keeping some parts of yourself private, you are asserting control over how you are seen. You decide what is revealed and when. This is particularly important in the context of relationships. In romantic relationships, in friendships, and even in familial ties, we are often pressured to open up, to share, to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is seen as a virtue, a path to deeper connection. While vulnerability is important, it is not always necessary, and it should never be confused with indiscriminate exposure. There are aspects of yourself that you must keep for yourself, not because you are hiding something, but because you are ensuring that your sense of self remains intact. When you share too much with others too soon, you risk losing the mystery and depth that make you who you are. People become accustomed to having access to every part of you, and in doing so, they may begin to take you for granted. By keeping certain things private, you establish a sense of value and rarity, you maintain your integrity, and protect your emotional well-being. In any meaningful relationship, there is a delicate balance between openness and privacy. You must be willing to share parts of yourself, of course, but you must also retain a part of yourself that remains your own. This is not about secrecy. It is about maintaining boundaries. A healthy relationship is built on trust and mutual respect, not on the constant demand for transparency. There are moments when you need to retreat, when you need to reflect, when you need to preserve your emotional energy for yourself. You must allow space for your partner, your friends, and your family to grow without being overexposed or too accessible. This is how relationships become truly deep. It is the recognition that we are not just physical beings, but emotional, psychological, and spiritual beings with layers that should not be peeled back without careful consideration. Another critical aspect of privacy is its role in personal growth. When you are constantly open, constantly sharing, you lose the opportunity for introspection. There is little time to reflect, to think deeply, to process your emotions, and to grow into the person you are meant to become. In the rush to expose every detail, we deprive ourselves of the time and space needed to truly understand who we are and what we want. When you keep things private, you make room for introspection, for self-discovery. You allow yourself the freedom to explore your inner world, to make mistakes and learn from them, without the fear of judgment or the pressure of others' expectations. In that silence, in that privacy, you become clearer about your desires, your values, and your vision for the future. It's also crucial to recognize that privacy doesn't mean isolation. In fact, privacy often enhances connection. When you allow yourself the space to keep some things to yourself, you are giving others the opportunity to do the same. This respect for boundaries creates an environment of mutual understanding and acceptance. It allows relationships to thrive without becoming smothering or suffocating. When you reveal only what is necessary and meaningful, you give others the space to share their own truths in their own time. This fosters a deeper connection because it is built on respect for each other's privacy, autonomy, and individuality. To live fully and authentically, we must learn to protect ourselves by establishing and maintaining privacy. We must understand that not everything needs to be shared, and that some aspects of our lives are too precious to be exposed. It is not a sign of weakness to keep things private, but a sign of strength, wisdom, and self-respect. We need to create boundaries that protect our emotional and psychological space, boundaries that help us preserve our integrity and individuality. By doing so, we not only protect ourselves, but we also cultivate deeper, more meaningful relationships and continue to grow into the people we are meant to be. Privacy is not about hiding. It is about honoring the sanctity of your inner world and maintaining the space necessary for true personal growth. In the current world, where transparency is often confused with honesty, there is a crucial lesson to be learned. Not everything needs to be shared. We are in a time where we are constantly encouraged to open up, to lay our lives bare for others to see, and to disclose every inner thought and feeling. Social media, with its ceaseless drive for visibility, seems to tell us that the more we expose ourselves, the more real or authentic we are. But in truth, there is great power and discretion in keeping certain parts of ourselves hidden, protected. It isn't about secrecy, but about safeguarding what is essential, what is sacred, and what remains uniquely yours. When we decide to keep things private, we are not closing ourselves off from the world. Rather, we are exercising a fundamental right to define our boundaries and control our personal space. This is a critical distinction. There is a quiet strength that comes with this level of discernment. It takes wisdom and self-assurance to recognize that some parts of your life are so integral to who you are that exposing them to the world could diminish their value and perhaps even strip away your sense of self. We don't need to share everything in order to be seen, loved, or understood. We are not obliged to make every aspect of our journey public in order to validate our existence. The deep, unspoken aspects of who we are, our thoughts, our desires, our private struggles remain ours to shape, to protect, and to refine in our own time. There is power in withholding. It allows for introspection. In keeping certain aspects of our lives private, we create space for deeper thinking, for reflection. Privacy doesn't equate to fear or avoidance. It's an act of protecting your inner world, enabling yourself to grow without external pressure, distraction, or the weight of constant judgment. We often make the mistake of thinking that to be seen by others, we must constantly share everything we experience. But the truth is, too much exposure to others weakens us. It erodes our capacity for self-reflection and personal growth. In the noise of constant sharing, we lose the ability to simply be. We fail to recognize that growth happens in silence and in solitude, when we are alone with our thoughts without the influence of the ever-present, ever-watchful eye of the world. The act of keeping things private doesn't mean we are disconnected from the world. In fact, it means the opposite. We are maintaining a deep connection with ourselves. It allows us to protect the most essential parts of our identity, preserving them for the people who are truly worthy of our trust and time. Not everything is for everyone, and not everyone has the right to see into the most sacred parts of our hearts. The ability to keep certain things to yourself demonstrates maturity, discernment, and emotional strength. It is a refusal to be manipulated by the demands and expectations of others. It's about acknowledging that your story is yours to tell, in your time and on your terms. In a world that seeks to expose every detail, the individual who knows how to guard what is sacred becomes increasingly rare, and that rarity is exactly what gives them strength. When you choose to keep things private, it protects your relationships from the strain of unnecessary exposure. Relationships, especially the most intimate ones, require boundaries. The more we reveal too quickly, the less the other person is able to truly understand and appreciate us for who we are. We reduce our depth when we offer all of ourselves on a platter without pause. Mystery is an important part of attraction, of connection. It's in the things we don't immediately disclose that others find intrigue, curiosity, and respect. Overexposure may seem like an attempt at openness, but it can often backfire, leading to a loss of the very respect we crave. True intimacy is built over time, through shared experiences, not through the wholesale display of everything we think, feel, or experience. By keeping things private, you allow relationships to develop at a natural pace, where trust and mutual understanding deepen with every shared moment, rather than being rushed by the demand for instant revelation. But let us be clear, privacy does not mean isolation. It does not mean we reject others or live in a constant state of secrecy. What it means is that we exercise restraint in what we share. We don't need to make our entire existence available to the world in order to feel validated. In fact, the act of maintaining some parts of our lives private allows us to give the world our best selves rather than a distorted version that has been too often exposed. Privacy is not about keeping others out. It's about keeping the best parts of you preserved for the right people and moments. It's about allowing the intimacy and trust you build to have the space it needs to flourish. You see, the real work of life often happens in the quiet spaces, the private moments when no one is watching. In those moments, you confront your vulnerabilities, your weaknesses, your ambitions, and your fears. It is in the solitude of privacy that you learn to understand yourself fully. And it is only after this process of self-discovery that you are truly able to connect with others. You cannot give to others what you do not fully understand within yourself. When you understand your own limits, strengths, desires, and truths, you are better equipped to navigate the world of relationships, both romantic and otherwise, with clarity and purpose. In many ways, privacy is the soil in which all personal growth is cultivated. We cannot grow in a world where every thought, every action, and every emotion is laid bare for scrutiny. It is in the protected spaces of our own minds, where we are free from external pressures, that we are able to reflect, learn, and grow. Once we have allowed ourselves the time to cultivate the seeds of our own development, we can then present the best version of ourselves to the world, not a version that is fragmented and overexposed, but one that is whole, rooted, and grounded in the knowledge of who we truly are. In keeping some things private, we gain control over our own narrative, we reclaim our autonomy, our individuality, and our right to define ourselves. This doesn't mean we reject connection or refuse to be vulnerable. It means we have learned the most important lesson of all, that there is immense strength in discretion, in self-protection, and in the wisdom to know when to speak and when to remain silent. Privacy, when honored, is a form of self-respect and a gateway to deeper, more authentic relationships with ourselves and others. By choosing what to keep sacred, we ensure that we never lose the essence of who we are. In a world dominated by constant noise and ceaseless demands for attention, there's a peculiar power in quiet resilience, a power that goes unnoticed, but is ultimately undeniable. You see, it's easy to mistake busyness for productivity, loudness for importance, and visibility for value. In this age of constant exposure, where everything is online, where everyone is available at all times, many have lost touch with something deeply personal and vital: the ability to retreat into silence when necessary, to sit with discomfort, to endure without drawing attention to one's struggles. In this silence, in the midst of hardship, something remarkable is being forged. The individual who can endure without crumbling, the person who can face their challenges without broadcasting them to the world, is far more formidable than they might seem on the surface. Strength is not always loud. It does not demand constant recognition. Strength is a quiet force that persists even when no one is watching, even when no accolades are given, when no applause is heard. Strength is not always about fighting, but about withstanding, about continuing to move forward when every part of you is telling you to stop. It is about digging deeper into yourself to find the courage to face challenges, not because you have to, but because you know it is the only way forward. The true test of a person's strength isn't how they handle success, it's how they handle failure. And more importantly, how they choose to rise again after they've been knocked down. This is not the strength that comes from external validation. No, this is the internal fortitude that is built over years of facing hardship, facing the discomfort of personal struggle, and choosing not to give in. It's in these moments of quiet resistance that we learn who we really are. This is where personal growth happens, in those silent, uncelebrated moments. When life knocks you down, when things don't go according to plan, it's easy to fall into despair. It's easy to want to throw in the towel and let the pain take over. But the true test is whether you choose to stand up again, to persist even when it feels like the weight of the world is against you. In those moments, strength is not a loud declaration, but a quiet decision. The decision to rise again, to carry the weight of your own existence and move forward, even when it feels impossible. This is what separates those who achieve long-term success from those who give in at the first sign of difficulty. The road to greatness is not paved with success after success, but with failure after failure and the resilience to push through each one. There is something about the quiet determination of an individual who continues, who pushes forward with unwavering commitment, that is more inspiring than any grand gesture of achievement. These are the people who never stop. They keep going, not because they are guaranteed success, but because they understand the deeper meaning behind their struggle. They know that true achievement is not about reaching the end goal. It is about who you become in the process, about how you transform yourself through each struggle, each setback, each triumph. It's not about the finish line, it's about the person you have to become in order to reach it. One of the most profound aspects of this inner strength is the ability to remain calm, collected, and focused even in the midst of chaos. In times of great distress, many people fall apart. They let the external circumstances dictate their emotional state, their actions, their decisions. But those who have cultivated quiet strength understand the importance of maintaining control over their own reactions. They do not let the noise of the world drown out their inner peace. They remain rooted in their values, their goals, and their purpose. They take a step back, evaluate the situation from a place of calm, and move forward with clarity and purpose. This ability to maintain control, to act from a place of rational thought rather than emotional reaction, is what ultimately leads to success. It's what allows you to weather the storms of life and come out the other side stronger, wiser, and more capable than ever before. But it's not just about the internal fortitude, it's also about the choices you make when no one is looking. It's about taking responsibility for your own life, for your own actions, and for the direction in which you are heading. In a world where so much is out of our control, the one thing we can control is our own response to the challenges we face. The choices you make in those quiet, unseen moments define who you are. They define your character, your resilience, your ability to lead yourself through the tough times. And it's in these moments that true strength is built, not in the external accolades or the praise you receive from others, but in the internal recognition that you've faced adversity, overcome it, and move forward with your head held high. Quiet strength is not about avoiding difficulty, but about embracing it, knowing that it is the crucible in which your character is forged. Life is not easy. It's messy, it's unpredictable, and it's full of challenges that will test you to your core. But if you can cultivate the ability to face those challenges with determination, with resilience, and with quiet resolve, you will emerge from them stronger than ever before. You will become someone who others look up to, not because of the loudness of your achievements, but because of the quiet strength that you have displayed in the face of adversity. This is the strength that endures. This is the strength that leaves a lasting impact. It's not flashy or showy. It's not about winning every battle. It's about rising every time you fall and continuing to push forward in the face of overwhelming odds. And that, in the end, is the true definition of strength. Life, in its most essential form, is a battle. A battle not just against external forces, but also against the essence of who we are, our weaknesses, our doubts, our insecurities. There's an undeniable truth that lies within this battle. You will face hardship, you will encounter obstacles, and you will be tested in ways you cannot predict. And yet, there is something fundamental to the human experience that shapes those who thrive in the face of adversity. It's not luck, nor is it privilege. It is the willingness to confront the darkness within and without, to rise every time life knocks you down, and to continue unwavering on your journey forward. This idea, this notion of perseverance, is far more than a feel-good concept. It is the bedrock upon which the most successful individuals are built. It is the quality that separates those who achieve greatness from those who merely survive. There is an overwhelming temptation in life to avoid struggle, to run from discomfort, to sidestep the very challenges that define us. But it's precisely through those challenges that the true measure of our character is revealed. A life free from struggle, free from adversity, is a life of stagnation. Growth, both personal and professional, requires discomfort, it requires resilience, and it requires the courage to face the unknown with steadfastness and purpose. The reason why so many individuals fail to realize their potential is that they refuse to confront the harsh realities of their existence. They shrink away from responsibility, they avoid difficult conversations, and they numb themselves to the emotional, psychological, and physical demands that life places upon them. In doing so, they remain stagnant, trapped in a cycle of complacency, unwilling to push past their comfort zones. They are afraid of the pain that is an inevitable part of growth, and so they choose the path of least resistance. But this is where the greatest misstep occurs. By avoiding discomfort, they are robbing themselves of the opportunity to evolve, to become more than they were before. Growth is inherently uncomfortable. Change is inherently painful. But it is also necessary, and it is also deeply rewarding. If you want to live a life of purpose, if you want to achieve the things you have set out to do, then you must be willing to face the truth head on. The truth that life is hard, that it demands everything from you, and that you will have to fight for what you want. This is not a call to violence or aggression, but a call to stand tall in the face of adversity, to look challenges in the eye and say, "I will not back down." This kind of resilience, this unshakable will to continue, is what separates those who merely exist from those who truly live. It's what transforms mere survival into genuine success. But resilience doesn't come naturally. It must be cultivated, nurtured, and developed over time. It is a skill, a mindset, and a habit that you can foster through deliberate practice. It starts with taking ownership of your life, with accepting responsibility for your actions, your choices, and the path you are on. It means recognizing that no one else is coming to save you, that it is up to you to create the life you desire. This responsibility, though weighty, is the key to unlocking the strength that lies dormant within you. The moment you stop blaming external circumstances for your misfortune and start taking control of your own destiny is the moment your life begins to change. You must step into the arena knowing full well that there will be challenges, there will be failures, and there will be setbacks. But in doing so, you will learn, you will grow, and you will become stronger than you ever imagined. The paradox of resilience is that it isn't about avoiding failure or hardship, it's about embracing them as necessary parts of the journey. It's not about winning every battle, it's about having the courage to get back up after every fall. It's about looking at the scars that life leaves on you, the bruises that come from the fights you've fought, and wearing them proudly as symbols of your perseverance. Those who have faced the deepest struggles, those who have confronted their fears head on, are the ones who come out on the other side with the greatest strength. Their struggles are not a sign of weakness, but of their unwavering resolve to continue on, to push forward, to thrive against the odds.